For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates. This is StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh, Revi. And on the gist, we are looking at Japan's record extra defense budget in the light of the escalation of military activity by China, Russia, and North Korea. Glad to be joined again on our platform by Professor Tomohiko Taniguchi. He's a former special advisor to former Prime Minister Shinzō Abe's cabinet, is a professor at Keio University as well, and a warm welcome to all our viewers as well. Professor Taniguchi, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Amitabh, for having me again.
Professor, just looking at the cabinet, clearing this latest extra, what is it, $6.8 billion that has been approved, which will probably take the total defense budget to a new high of about $53.2 billion. It's been up 15% from 2020, the defense budget. There's a clear urgency in this supplementary budget. Why not wait, say, for the next year, Professor?
I think Japan has got to do even more. The standard accepted by European nations is to aim at 2% as opposed to the nation's GDP as regards defense spending. And Japan has yet to do more to achieve that goal. And the motivation is self-evident. Over the last 30 years, if you look at China's path, the People's Republic of China has increased its defense budget by 42 times. We are looking at a country that is getting stronger still yearly at a unprecedented speed. No one actually has ever seen in the history of mankind. Japan needs to do much, much more, and the incremental step that you have just seen coming out from the Kishida administration, I think is just a beginning to be followed year on and year out.
Just a beginning, you say, Professor Taniguchi. But in that sense, from Prime Minister Shinzō Abe to Yoshihide Suga to Fumio Kishida, do you see continuity in dealing with China as a threat, as a main threat?
Yes, what is consistent is China's determined posture to continue to provoke territorial integrity in all directions, to India, to Japan, and in the South China Sea. So long as China's expansionist diplomacy and national security policies continue, we have no way other than getting prepared further by ourselves. And it is one way to strengthen the US-Japan military alliance as well. Without Japan doing its own due, you couldn't think of the United States continuing to get engaged militarily in this difficult region of the Indo-Pacific.
Professor Taniguchi, you mentioned that 2% of the GDP as a budget figure. Now, that was an election promise as well by the LDP and Fushida in October. That and the 4 revisions that were pledged in the Constitution, how do you see that moving? And is there any internal or external opposition?
Changing Japanese Constitution is long overdue, Amitabh. If you read Japanese Constitution, still Japanese armed forces so-called self-defense forces are deemed unconstitutional. The proposal has been to put a new clause, new section to the Article 9, the ninth article of the Constitution, only to legitimize the presence of the Japanese self-defense forces. But it may sound easy to be done, but in practice it is extremely difficult, because in order for any amendment to be passed, you need to put together special committees for each house, upper and lower. And that's the ideal ground for the opposition to do its own filibustering, if I use Americanism. So it's been a hard task. But within this framework available now for Japan, you must do much, much more. Indeed, Japan has chosen to equip itself with more than 140 F-35 aircraft, as you see on the screen. And we're actually deploying standoff missiles and developing furthermore. And the East China Sea is the flashpoint, which is the reason why Japanese ground self-defense forces are rapidly shifting their focus from up north to the south and deploying forces in those southwestern islands in preparation for provocations that you see daily coming in from the Chinese side.
This extra budget, in fact, looks at that. I think there's a base that is about 170 square kilometers away from the Senkakus. You talked about the F-35s. There's an enhancement to the Patriot that's looked at in this extra budget, supplementary budget, air missile defense. But also, Prime Minister Kishida at that parade which he had with the self-defense forces talked about, all options, including acquiring enemy base strike capability, hitting enemy bases. How do you, can you flesh that out a little bit for us?
Let's just imagine you are being shot and you cannot shoot back. If that's the case, you are defenseless. And so when there is a clear and accurately detectable danger and threat, you can see either in China or in North Korea, you must be able to strike that launching pad, if you like. Only when the Chinese or North Koreans are fully aware that Japan has got its capability, they may find it rational to be a little bit more restrained. But weakness in the security equation always invites further provocations, not less, but more, which is the reason why that the Japanese government from Abe onward has been thinking very much hard about this.
Professor, again, lots of words of support from Tokyo to Taiwan in terms of the Chinese aim at reunification or invading, however you want to look at it. How do you visualize that moving forward in terms of Japan supporting in terms of crisis?
Shinzō Abe, while he was in office, whenever he met Xi Jinping, he made it very much clear in a plain language that Mr. Xi should never, ever underestimate the resolve, preparedness, and determination on the part of the Japanese. And Taiwan crisis is directly and automatically linked to Japanese security because Japanese territory, the southwestern tip of it, is only 100 kilometers away from Taiwan. So Taiwan, if it is under military crisis, it is automatically going to cause a threat, the kind of threat that would immediately affect the Japanese national security. So Taiwan's security cannot be separated from that for Japan, which is the reason why Japan, the United States, and other G7 nations are in unison saying to the Chinese that the Taiwan Straits must be kept in peace. And that announcement and signaling must continue, and we must say to the Chinese side that they should not underestimate the preparedness on the part of the Japanese, on the part of the U.S.-Japan alliance. And I think it's a long-term phenomenon. It's not going to go away anytime soon. Next year, the year after next, we will be talking about the same thing. The only hope is the Chinese should not go into a sort of mode that now is the time for them to attack Taiwan. That's the sort of thing that is almost suicidal for the Chinese as well, given the interconnectedness of the Chinese economy.
You talked about alliances, Professor, and it's you can't help but wonder about Abe Shinzo's 2007 speech to the Indian Parliament, confluence of two seas, and his visionary look at what was actually happening. But in terms of alliances, we've seen top-level meetings between Japanese leaders and Vietnam's leaders. Apart from that, of course, Quad, the India, Australia, US Malabar exercises. You're exercising with various countries in Southeast Asia and even Europe and Canada. Alliances, how important are they, Professor?
They are getting even more important. Alliance once was a dirty word, Amitabh, especially for the Europeans. But Europeans themselves are keenly aware that Russia is once again very much a dangerous being, and so is China. So like-minded countries have to gather together and to show to Russia and China that they cannot do a certain thing beyond the limit that like-minded countries such as the United States, Japan, Australia, India, and Europe should set. So in these circumstances, alliance is something that you should pursue even more. And there are two kinds of alliances, Amitabh. One treaty-based, another, let's say, another is a something
Principle
that's taking shape. And I think Australia, Japan are, in that sense, a quasi-alliance. And British people call Japan their own alliance partner. So alliance must be interpreted in a wide way.
Alliances, you said, are bad word. They're a bad word everywhere. I should have also used the word partnership for the Quad. But that apart, interesting that you mentioned Russia, because Russia and China have also held joint exercises off the shores of Japan. How does Japan see Russia's role in all of this, especially since Russia and China are extremely close? Again, to use a term of yours, quasi-allies.
Japan's doing a lot of things vis-a-vis Russia. The hope was that Russia and Japan should forge, finally, the peace treaty. That's been long overdue since the end of the Second World War. So far, unfortunately, to little avail. And Russia and China are even more cooperating together. and Russia is not doing positive sort of things, either to Japan or to the Western nations like the United States and European nations. When it comes to cyber capabilities of Russia, that's an awesome sort of capability. And we must live with that. But no one, repeat, no one wants to do a hot war either with Russia or with China. But in order for us to prevent actual warfare from happening, it is the alliance and partnership that counts. And Japan must do that as much as possible with such countries as Quad member nations and others.
Professor Tomohiko Taniguchi, again, absolutely appreciate your experience and expertise. Thanks for giving us your time again.
Thank you very much, Amitabh.
A reminder to those viewers who know us, do help spread the word about our YouTube channel and website. And if you are a new viewer who's just joining us, check out our other videos and work. You've been watching The Gist on StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh.